This episode of the Simon Racing Report is brought to you by our website. Visit the simonracingreport.com for all information on upcoming podcasts, upcoming analysis videos, past podcasts, past analysis videos, columns, anything else, any other future features that we produce, of course, too. So check all those out. You can also subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher. We're now on Spotify too, so don't forget to subscribe or bookmark Spotify or follow, however it works on Spotify. It's an awesome app though. And of course, don't forget to like the podcast page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter, of course, at JohnnyS82. Not much to say about our next guest, Kevin Ellis Jr. How about we get to it? You know, a guy who's been on this podcast. I can't remember how many times. I think I've suffered a set of serious concussions. I think he's been on for like 3-4 times. I'm struggling to remember, but he's been on for a while, and he's a never-loved guest of the show. So let's get to it. Welcome to the Simon Racing Report. I think I might have an obsession for Scottish people on this podcast. Here's another one. Kevin Ellis Jr. Are you in off-season mode yet, Kevin?
Yeah, just about, mate. Yeah, we begin to calm down a little bit now.
To me, when I was racing, I pretty much took about a week or 2 weeks break in the off season, but then that was when I worked my hardest at sim racing. It sounds weird, but you're just trying to improve your muscle memory over the off season and test as many cars and race as much as possible, improve your racecraft, and then hopefully you don't come back to round one next year all burnt out.
Yeah, we've been working a little bit in the off season. I've been helping some of the guys get up to speed in the Porsche and even try and just improve myself. You know, we're in the off season, so it's not a pretty rigorous routine for practice really. It's pretty relaxed, but I'm still just trying to keep turning laps and keep myself fresh in the car because I think I wasn't quite good enough in 2019, if I'm being brutally honest. Especially when you compare me to Jared and Jamie, I simply wasn't good enough. So been working pretty hard the last few weeks, and hopefully help the guys through the Pro Series. We got another couple of guys in the series, and hopefully come 2020 where I'm where I need to be in terms of fighting for maybe a top 10 in the championship. Just it completely depends. I mean, it's the Esports Supercup. You can't predict anything there. So
Yeah. Well, we'll discuss the series, I reckon, later. I think the thing I want to ask is, I mean, I sort of have to agree with you because with your open wheel success, you were a top 10 driver in 2018, and then
yep.
Do you reckon it was the car that sort of cost you, or did you reckon you took too big of a break between the 2018 off season going into 2019?
I think I've always suited open wheel cars a bit better, the higher kind of downforce stuff. But there was a multitude of reasons. I think coming into 2019, I didn't even expect to be top 20. In all honesty, the car certainly didn't help me, but the level of competition is way higher in Esports Super Cup compared to any other World Championship. I think, you know, in the F1 car we had 4 or 5, you know, super fast guys that even in Porsche. I mean, you look at Martin, you know, in Porsche he was top 8. You had all the great GT guys coming as well, and they were all combined into the one series. In F1, you're sort of secluded a little bit. You know, we didn't quite have Castrolado and stuff, you know, guys like that in the F1 car. So as soon as the Porsche Esports Super Cup came up, that was it. Everyone was just grouped into the same series. So the switch of car and the level of competition going up, I think, is really what kind of pushed me down a little bit. But to finish 12th this year was already a surprise, to be honest. So yeah, I think going into next year, top 10's got to be the target.
Yeah, you're a specialist in the open wheelers because I even go back to mid-year and you won the Indy 500. Was that your first ever Indy 500?
Yeah, 4 years of trying, and finally got one. Yeah, it wasn't the broadcast, so I'm still not fully satisfied with that. But
it still counts.
I mean, to win a 500 is a 500 at the end of the day. It's still the same race. Most of the same guys were there, so I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I've always favoured the higher downforce cars. I think I'm a bit stronger in cars like the Daytona prototype, and even in LMP1, I feel pretty strong in that. But
yeah,
it's just kind of seat time in LMP1. I've not done a whole lot, so it's hard to say. But yeah, the higher downforce cars I feel more at home. But yeah, I've really enjoyed 2019 so far. I think I really got into the stride of the GTE for the last round at Kota. Decided to do that race and was actually pretty quick. I managed to qualify top 10, so that was a surprise to me. So I'd say a good driver can kind of adapt to open wheel, closed wheel, tin tops, you know, whatever it is. It's if you can be quick in one car, chances are you can be quick in everything. So I don't like to kind of back myself down the road of saying I'm only good in open wheel cars. I'd like to think I can do pretty good in other stuff as well.
You can though. You've won a lot of races this year in your endurance events and everything else. But then, so
Yeah,
this is why I think in the off season it's the perfect time for a sim racer to delve into other cars, because obviously throughout 2019, and let's take you as an example, generally you're probably testing the Porsche the entire year, but you didn't get a chance to probably do rallycross or something else. Just an example. So maybe this off season, it's time for a driver like yourself to go, all right, let me spend a week on rallycross. Let me do alternate days. I'm going to spend half my days on open wheelers, half my days in stock cars, and just learn different cars and try different sims, try different things. And I think if you're just sim racing every day in the off season, I found that was the best way for me to improve when I was racing full time.
yeah, for sure. Since Porsche's ended, I've been helping the rallycross guys. I thought I was half decent at rallycross until I started testing with them and realised I'm nowhere near good enough. I can get within about a second to Johan, but with the way that the track wears out and stuff like that on the rallycross side of things, it's definitely a challenge this year. It's a bit different
Mm.
to when I hadn't driven rallycross for a year, and as soon as Porsche ended, I got into rallycross with them, and I've been doing a little bit of LMP1 for the Sports Car Open Series SEO.
Mm.
So yeah, I've been kind of driving a few different things, just having a bit of fun, but I'm still trying to keep, chugging away on the Porsche and just kind of keep getting laps under my belt and staying warmed up to that car because I'm really not confident enough in that car to step away for 2 or 3 months and expect to come back and still be where I need to be come 2020. So all throughout the winter, I'll be kind of turning laps here and there. Whether I do races or not is another thing, but I'll be turning laps behind the scenes, that's for sure. And as I said, helping the guys in Pro Series.
Oh, what if they like just all of a sudden release a weird update heading into the season next year, and they go, "Oh, hey, now the car's on V7 tires," and it fucks all over your testing for the entire off season.
Yep, that's one of the fears we've got at the moment. I'd be surprised if V7 isn't on the car for the start of next season, considering how important the Porsche series is.
Hmm.
You'd think they want to get it on V7 as soon as, but at the same time, you want it to be right before you do it. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of hoping for V7. I know I'm especially hoping for V7 to come out. I'm not a fan of this tire model in the slightest on the Porsche. It's beginning to drive me a bit nuts the last few weeks, that's for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think V7 will probably be on the car next year. But even just running laps on this current tire model, I'd say will help me out.
Do you think it would be an improvement? Because I definitely think V7, when they get it right, I definitely think it's an improvement. I know when it first came out in the F3, I was like, "Oh, well, what's going on over
Yeah, it
here?"
wasn't
But then,
wasn't quite optimized for that car.
exactly. But then when you tried it on the TCR or something, you're like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good." The thing with the TCR is now you're getting drivers in that car on V7. It takes them what, like 4 laps to even just warm up the tires, the rear tires, of course, because it's a front wheel drive car. So you see them like swerving on a pace lap like you do in the real world. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's fun.
yeah. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of the K&N car at Laguna Seca. That's coming up, I think, next week on the official series,
Mm.
and that's on the V7 tires. And I can tell you the first lap out it's sketchy. It's something you're not really used to. Actually having to warm tires up and stuff like that. So I was doing some K&N laps, and then after I was done with that, I went back to the Porsche and was tiptoeing around on the first lap, and I had to kind of remind myself. I was like, wait, you don't need to do that on version 6 or whatever version the Porsche's on. It's on like V6.5 or something. So yeah, I was like, you can just sort of floor it coming out the pits and not have to worry about it. So it'll be quite a culture shock, I think, for a lot of guys come next season. If V7 does, end up on the car, then I think the first lap is going to be a bit crazier than even it was this season. But I do quite like the dynamic of having to actually warm tires up, and I think you can actually manage tires a lot better on V7.
Mm.
From my personal experience, I know if you're sliding around, even after like 2 or 3 laps, you can be down 4 or 5% on tire wear compared to if you're just taking it easy. So you
So
can actually save tires, and you actually need to warm them up as well, which is an interesting dynamic for sure.
yeah, exactly. And the thing you brought up was the first lap was going to be like manic, but I don't know why in iRacing they just don't introduce, and they can just do this as a trial in World Championship Series, just introduce a pace lap for standing starts. It's something that
Yep.
iRacing's never had. And the thing is, it's like, all right, if it's going to be more realistic, you might need that pace lap if you're not going to have tire warmers on the car. And if anything, I reckon a formation lap adds to the element of a broadcast. Like, it's so much more suspenseful. It's a chance to sort of when you watch a Formula One formation lap, it's like you just get nervous, and then they show all the people in the pits watching from the garages. The crowd just seems quiet, no engines allowed, and you're like, oh, I'm getting ready for 5 red lights here. It's just very nerve
Yeah.
wracking.
Yeah, no, I've been wanting formation laps for a while, even in the F1 days when tire warming wasn't an issue. I still wanted it then, so I think it'd be good to have, but I think iRacing would need to implement some kind of system so that people get the right grid slot, because you can guarantee with a 40 car field someone's going to miss their grid slot and someone's going to line up in the wrong place, and then I don't know what would happen after that, if the person would get a black flag or what kind of thing would happen there. But I think they would need to implement some kind of system to ensure that people were lining up in the right place. But I would like to see formation laps. I think it looks good on the broadcast. It's like, the cool down laps. It's something that we were informed to do this year on Esports Supercup. There was a mandatory cool down lap, and that even just looks better because basically no escape on the cool down lap after a race. So, and that simple things like that just add to the broadcast. It was like the Frankfurt event that we done as well, the one-off event at Silverstone. Just between the 2 last rounds of Porsche, and we had a no escape rule in qualifying as well. So we had like 20 minutes, I think it was, open qualifying, and you had to do your lap, and then you had to do a full in lap and come in at the pits. You weren't allowed to just escape out the car. You had to do a full in lap, come in, change tires, add fuel, or sorry, not take fuel, just change tires, and then drive back out, do your out lap and all that kind of stuff. So even stuff just as simple as that, I think, makes the broadcast look 10 times better, and a formation lap is certainly something that wouldn't go amiss, I think.
Yeah, and I remember that event because I hosted that event, actually, just letting you know. But I remember we actually spoke after the race, didn't we? I remember I asked you to, what did I say, to keep it G-rated? I can't remember what I said.
Yeah, it was something like, I remember that now, actually. Yeah, it was the post-race interview, and you told me keep it legal. That's what it was. Keep it legal, yeah.
Oh, keep it legal, that was it.
That was it, yeah, keep it legal.
Hey, I got away with it, it's all good. There's nothing wrong with what I said, that's fine. You can say that. But what we on about? Yeah, the no escape. Like, you see series like V8 Scops do the no escape. There's many other series, and I think it just looks better. And then when you have to plan qualifying, you don't plan for 2 laps of fuel. Now you have to plan for 3 laps of fuel. You have to understand that, okay, if I need to do a lap at this time, I need to be in the pits by this time, so then I can get one more run before the checkered flag comes out. And it just gets you thinking a lot more, than just pressing escape and getting back out there.
Yeah, it was really exciting, actually, and even because it was open quality as well, trying to find gaps on an outlap was an interesting dynamic. Do you go for draft? Do you try and stay within a second of the guy in front to get some draft down the straights, but then risk the dirt air in the corners, or are you too close that if they make a mistake you can't dodge it, that kind of thing? So on the outlap it was a bit hectic, but it was a good hectic. I think it looked good on the broadcast having open quality. It's something that I'm voting for 2020 is to have an open qualifying session. Just have all 40 cars on track and just let them have at it. I think it will shake up the results a bit more if they really want to, have an interest in results. Then I think having an open quality is one way to do that.
So we brought all this up because we're talking about off-season for sim racers, and I think some sim racers, and whilst everyone's naturally talented, I don't think some sim racers realize that the amount of hours that they do it is why that they're good at it, if that makes sense. I've seen numbers where I remember when Bono Haas was at Precision Motorsports back in 2011, and all the testing numbers, I think over the course of a season, I think he'd done 50% of the laps of his teammates, if that makes sense. So one of his teammates had done, let's say, I don't know, let's make up a number 10,000 laps. He'd done 5,000. So all his teammates averaged 10K and he'd only averaged 4 to 5K. And I was like, is that because he put in all his hours when he was younger and he just has that muscle memory? Or is it just because he's naturally talented? And you and I can relate because you and I aren't like that, unfortunately. We have to put in hours, and the more hours we put in, the quicker we are. And we always find our pace the day before the race. We're not quick on the first day of testing.
Yeah, that's an ability I've somehow inherited, being 3-4 tenths off all week in practice. And
and the day of the race.
2 hours before the race. Exactly, yeah, 2 hours before the race, I would do a practice race stint and be like, oh, I get it now. It's taken 4 or 5 days of screaming and shouting at the screen, but I eventually got there. And I'm sure it drives the guys nuts. I know Jamie said it's pretty annoying to have me, be 2 or 3 tenths off pace, and Jamie thinks it's in a good spot, and then on race day, it seems to I just seem to pick up a bit of pace. It's not quite as relevant in the Porsche this year, but in F1 car it was really apparent. Like I would be way off in practice, and then on race day, as soon as it matters, I just seem to turn it on. But it's strange because I've always said this, and when I say it, it makes it sound as if I shouldn't sim race, but I don't actually enjoy any track on iRacing. Like every single track I've driven, I think I hate them all in different ways.
Wait, what?
There's,
Like the
I do
circuit?
not enjoy. Yeah, I don't enjoy any track. I think every single track is individually shit. It's the weirdest thing. Like I was saying this to the guys like last week. I was like, why do I bother practicing? Because I hate practice. I think our practice schedule for 2019, we should have done more open practice, like practice races and stuff, where as opposed to just doing laps by yourself and just driving around. And for me, I just can't do that. I absolutely hate practice, and I think that might be the reason why I'm off in practice. Is because I just don't care. I just cannot be
Yeah.
arsed with practice. And then come race day, I'm like, right, okay, there's actually something on the line. Let's try. And the adrenaline just sort of picks me up a couple of tenths. I really don't know what it is, but every single time I'm practicing, I just can't stand it.
See, that's something where I picked up like a bad habit too, where when you test, sometimes you just get bored testing on your own. So then when you do, let's say a race stint on your own, or let's say you just do one stint out of 3 in a race, like a 20-lap stint, and then you don't push as hard. So you're like, oh, I got no off tracks. I was decently quick. Like that's a good stint. But when you're not pushing yourself, it's like if you go to the gym and you start walking instead of running, it's that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's still good for you. It's still good practice. But when you run, you're going to burn more calories. You're going to get fitter. You're going to get, stronger, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not going to, I'm not really a fitness genius, so I'm not going to go into that too much. But the thing I learned was I got better when I started saying, okay, let me do a race stint now for 20 laps. I'm going to aim for no off tracks for the next 20 laps, and I'm going to make them all qualifying laps. So I'm going to push on every single lap, try my best. And I'm like, oh, the next day, my first lap that I set is like purple every sector. And I'm like, oh, how did that happen? And it's just because your body's remembering it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I tried doing that in Porsche. I'd be like, right, okay, next 20 laps, this will be a race stint, and come lap 5, I just get bored and my brain just tunes out. I physically cannot help it. I can't stand just doing laps for just looking at lap times. I cannot stand it.
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy practice. If there's nothing to fight for, if you're not driving for a reason, then I really can't be bothered. And it sounds pretty stupid and pretty bad, but that's just how it is, man. I can't stand practice.
No, you just need to find a style that works for you then. Doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means
I mean, it's weird. It might be the car, but like in the DP, I've got no problems practicing in that thing. LMP1, no problems practicing, but see, in Porsche, GTE, even like the tail end of F1 and stuff, I just could not be bothered with practice at all. Like, and the annoying thing as well is that in iRacing, the car feels different in practice than it does in the actual race sessions, so that really started to put me off practice.
What, weather?
Because I was like,
why is that?
I don't know what it is. Like, it's for me all season I struggled with getting the car balanced in practice, and it felt fine. Pace was fine for my standards. I was within 2-3 tenths of Jamie and Jared, which is where I needed to be within a tenth on race day. Because as I said earlier, for some reason I pick up time. I had the car nicely balanced. Everything felt fine. I felt confident, and then in the actual race session, it was massive understeering at the corner, massive oversteer off. It could have just been me overdriving entries because the pressure's on, and you've got someone sitting 0.2 off your back the whole race. But if I was to take the corners how I wanted to, you would get ran over. It's as simple as that. Someone's just going to run you over, so you've got no choice really. So it's something I've been kind of analysing since the season ended. I struggled a lot with it at Monza. I almost lost the draft at Monza because of it. And that's saying something. If you're losing the draft at Monza, then you're doing something badly wrong, and there was something not right at Monza for me. Just the way I drove, the way the car handled didn't feel right.
And that's a good
so
track
it's something
for
I
you
need to analyse. It is, yeah. Typically Monza's a place I've gone quite well at, especially in the F1 car. I've had a podium in the Pro Series and a podium in the World Championship. Did I get a podium?
Yeah.
I did.
I don't know if you got a podium. Do you want me to double check that for you?
No, I did. I remember it was that race I came second in Mach 1 at Monza.
Was that the race that
2018.
Jamie was supposed to win?
It was the race that Jamie was leading, yeah, and then Pete looked to be favourite because he undercut, and then the incident happened with David Williams, and Kroenke self-spun, all the Finnish guys dropped out. It was like the weirdest race.
Oh, and De Jong had the off track or the slowdown on lap 1.
Yeah, and eventually got the black flags and never served it, yeah.
I think
it was that race where basically all the top guys DNF'd, and I was just, rather than finishing 6th or 7th, which is where I normally would finish, I inherited second.
That's how it works. That's how it works though in
Yep.
motorsport, you know? It's not like, you know, you're any less talented. It's like, all right, you know, some of those guys made some silly errors that you didn't. So
Yeah, yeah.
end of the day, you finished second. I remember Jamie and I actually did I think it was like episode 74. I have a really weirdly good memory, by the way. So we watched it in, you know, those film room podcasts I do
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I think we actually watched that. If anyone wants to tune into that after this, but that was man, that was a manic race. I think that might have been the race that I don't know if it was that year or the year before, but Sperry and I said, "Oh, what the hell's going on with this race? Let's do a quick emergency podcast." So I stayed
Yep,
up
I
till
remember that
5
one.
a.m. recording the podcast
Yep.
afterwards.
I kind of wish I stuck around for that actually, because I remember going in for an interview, and I would have stuck around for the emergency podcast afterwards, but it was that last minute, I think, that I was already done my interview and left by the time that you guys were like, right, okay, let's do a podcast. But no, I still remember listening to that podcast back, and it was just like I think it was I can't remember the exact phrase. Was it the bomb diffusers? Was it like Sperry described us as like the guys that just dodged the chaos, the guys that just keep it on the track, like
we we pretty much came up with names for like each group
yeah,
that finished in different positions. Yeah, you guys were like the diffusers or something, like just avoiding all
yeah.
the carnage.
Yeah,
Somehow.
that was my typical trait the last couple of years. It's just dodging the chaos, and it was the same at Monza again this year in PESC. I'm sure you remember seeing that massive pile up on the
Mhm.
first lap of the sprint race. I think I went from 22nd to 11th on the first lap,
Mm.
and me and Antoine were like the only two guys to get through that. And yeah, I mean that was the craziest thing I've ever dodged. I don't think I'm gonna have a moment like that again in the World Championship.
So you weren't in the Laguna pileup or whatever it was? There was
Um,
like a crash at the corkscrew.
yeah, in the sprint race I get taken out in the corkscrew. Niels Koch, I was on the right hand side, and Niels Koch coming into the corkscrew, and Martin Kroenke was just to my left,
Yeah.
and Niels nudged Martin, and that nudged Martin into me, and then I was in the wall and stuck. But in the feature race, I just dodged that. I lost enough positions in the sprint race that I started like I don't know where I started, 19th or something in the feature race, 17th or 19th or something, and ended up 11th at the end of the first lap of that as well. There was just cars scattered everywhere. I just picked a line and just floored it through the middle of everyone, and got away with it luckily. So yeah, I've dodged a few big ones this year, that's for sure.
I think you're the highest placed driver when I look at the championship standings. Well, apart from Freddie, actually. Sorry, the lowest placed driver, I should say, apart from Freddie Rasmussen, who won a race. Because Freddie Rasmussen
Yeah,
doesn't count. What did he lose his license? Did he quit? I'm not sure what happened with him.
yeah, he quit after the first race. Yeah, he done one
And
race
he
and
lost
thought
his
that's
license.
enough. Yeah,
But anyway, yeah, you won that race at where was it? Watkins again? You had the reverse
yeah,
pole.
The Watkins sprint race. Yeah,
Hmm. And it's a pretty good result because I thought Watkins would be a good circuit to overtake at. You know, it's got such that long back straight, and you'd know it from Grand Prix Series racing. I think it
yeah,
always went there.
yeah,
And it's very easy to overtake there, I reckon.
yeah. I was pleasantly surprised actually. Watkins was a strange one. That was the first practice week where I actually did feel on it. In practice, I was actually like as quick as Jared in practice. So coming into it, I knew right, okay, I'm probably in pretty decent shape here. If I'm on pace with these guys in practice, I'm probably going to be on it for the race.
Mm.
And fair, right enough, I was. I think I lost 3/10 or 2.5 tenths on my Q lap, if memory serves, and I still qualified eighth. I had a massive lock up into one of the corners, and I was like, I've thrown that away. Crossed the line and was sitting eighth. I was like, right, okay, well that worked out. That worked out all right. Started on pole for the sprint race and had Graham behind me, and Jared battled Graham for a bit, and that cost him a bit of time, so it gave me a bit of breathing room. And it was just a case of bringing the car home. I think it was 15 laps that race went or something. So it was a pretty straightforward 15 laps, and then yeah, in the feature race it got a bit more hectic from there. Having Jared second, I didn't quite have the pleasure of two guys fighting, and I can't even remember what lap it was, but I made a mistake through the S's, and Jared had to go. I mean, we were getting Brenton was on the radio at the time saying, you know, do we need to have a conversation? Do we need to have a conversation? Do we need to swap places here? And me and Jared just weren't talking. We were just perfectly calm being one and two. But I think there was like 16 cars or 17 cars stuck behind me just because I was just lacking that 2/10 that I really needed to possibly gap them. And eventually Jared and I had to swap places. I had no choice, and then got a bit argy bargy with the Red Bull guys for a bit and brought it home fourth. But yeah, that was definitely the highlight of the season. I think was winning the sprint race and getting a 1-2 in there, and then of course Jared winning the feature. That was Apex's first ever World Championship win. So it's a bit strange for me to get the win. I mean, if you can count that, I know it's only a sprint race, but for me of all people to get the first win for Apex, it feels pretty good.
So you don't count Apex's special event wins as like World Championship wins? Obviously, they're not official World Championships.
Nah. We probably should have won 2, maybe 3 races in the F1 season in 2018, and for one reason or another, never did. And for me to win, I mean, I never won in the F1 car, and I won in the Porsche. Like, it's you couldn't write that, you know. Like, Porsche's not a car, but I think of myself as being strong in. Came into the season just hoping to be top 20 in points, so to come away with a sprint race win and a P4 in the feature, I was over the moon. I think I was more hyped than Jared was. I was more hyped after winning the sprint race than Jared was after winning the feature. so that kind of shows you how much it meant.
Yeah, so would you get rid of the reverse pole then? Because it seemed to benefit you, but I don't know. I'm in two minds about it. It brings entertainment, but I don't think it's real. It's like artificial, if that makes sense. It's like worse than DRS, I reckon.
Yeah, coming into the season, I wasn't a fan. And to be fair to iRacing and Porsche, it was better than I expected. But I still don't agree with it. I think there's better ways of doing it, and I think that I can't say too much, obviously, because this is all discussed on the private forum. But
yeah,
we said to iRacing at the time, you know, we think that having a qualifying session, then the sprint race, and then reversing the sprint race results for the feature, that would make more sense. And we were told, no, it's already been decided. As we were sent the document, it was already finalised. We weren't consulted at any point about the format or anything else. So when we came in with recommendations, they were all pretty much thrown out and said, we'll look at it for 2020. What we have for 2019 is in place. There's nothing we're not gonna change it. And from the looks of things, a lot of the viewers had a similar opinion to the drivers, that it's not really an optimal system. It created excitement. There's no doubt about that. But I think I don't think reversing qualifying results is the way it should be, if I'm being honest.
No, because it's weird how, like, I'm surprised Josh didn't tank qualifying more. I mean, did you get a prize for qualifying, by the way? What was it again?
I think you got like 8 bonus points. The top 8 qualifiers got, so the guy who got pole got 8, second gets 7, third gets 6, all the way down to 8th place gets 1 bonus point, then they reverse it. So there was 8 points on offer, but when you consider that you get 8 points for qualifying on pole, and then you're getting demoted to 5th, you're losing like 38 points. Between 1st and 8th, there's like 38 points difference. So you're winning 8 and technically losing 38.
Yeah. See, I still feel like they should have done it like GP2 did back in the day, Formula 2 do, like just reverse the sprint race results. But we'll see if it changes into 2020. You know, obviously they're all going to be secretive with this kind of stuff, and you can't say much. But I mean, that's the way.
There's a discussion going on. There's a discussion going on, and we're trying to. A lot of the drivers on the same kind of page that think we should change it. I mean, it wasn't bad. I didn't dislike it. Obviously, it did favour me, but I think reversing sprint race results would be a bit more optimal than qualifying.
Were there live stewards for the series?
We didn't really find out until Laguna Seca if there was any. For the most part, they claim that they were there. It was always the same, even in the F1 days. You know, we had live stewards, and they never done anything, so they took them away because they said that there was no need for them. Whereas in reality, I think that the problem was they weren't proactive enough. I think
I think there was every race they needed to use them.
In Porsche, especially, I think simple things like nudging someone off the track, like hitting someone in the back, pushing them off, and then taking the position. I think if there's a steward there should be something in place for the steward to say, right, okay, let them back pass, as that pass wasn't clean. You've hit them off to get the move done. That's not a legit overtake. Obviously, the incident that happened at Laguna, we saw what happened there. Some people said it wasn't warranted. Some people said it was deserved. I'm on the side of the fence that said it was deserved. I don't think there's a place for that in this kind of series. But at the same time, I understand where the guys are coming from, saying it's bullshit, because they were nowhere to be found the first 8 races, and there's plenty of shit going on in the first 8, and nothing was done. So yeah, I think if they're going to be live stewards, there should be live stewards, and they need to be more proactive in terms of handing out pit lane starts for the feature race. It's what they done at the Frankfurt event when we ran that. There was live stewards for that, and if you crashed into someone in the sprint race, you were given a pit lane start for the feature. And it was pretty cool to actually know that there were live stewards, watching over and officiating everything. It makes you drive, it makes you tone it back 5%, make sure that you don't hit someone, because there is actually going to be repercussions. Whereas this season it was pretty much you can ram someone and just take the 4x penalty points, and the penalty system wasn't harsh enough to where you could probably get away with you got 3 or 4 free rams this season without any repercussions.
And with what were we on about again? God, I had a brain lapse. Oh, so with the live stewarding, there were times I think this year where I felt, the Silverstone race was like a good example of how well it could be implemented in the series. If you go back to the Supercars E-Series, we have a live steward in the background, and they sort of have a real good think about the penalties. There was a penalty that Brady Myers got in race 1 of round 3, whatever race that was. I think it was race 5, and the stewards were discussing, should we penalize him? If we penalize him, then he's going to get reverse pole. What's going to happen? So then they had this real good discussion. They said, okay, championship point penalty is a good thing. And I was like, these are really smart stewards over here, really thinking about this decision. No knee-jerk reactions. And then I was thinking, okay, why don't we do that for our World Championships in iRacing? Give them rules that are realistic, and they can give 5-second, 10-second penalties, can give championship point penalties. They'll have time to think about it. And we won't have stupid penalties like we did. I remember in 2015, this is before you raced in the Grand Prix series, there were penalties like, I think one driver, it was Richard Avery at Interlagos, had a 1-lap penalty to begin the race. So he began the race a lap down. And I was like, well, look, all credit to iRacing, all right, he deserved the penalty, but a 1-lap penalty is way too harsh. There's no safety cars in iRacing. You're not making up that lap back. So you might as well just start the race, park the car after a lap, and that's your event. What's the point of even testing for 2 weeks for a race like that? So anyway, I'm having a bit of a rant here, but I think if iRacing just sort of, if they do it the way the Supercars E-Series has done, and remember, that's a series that's pretty much, I don't know if sanction's the right word, but they get a lot of Supercars personnel involved. So, if they can do it, and iRacing can do it, I reckon.
Yeah, the potential is definitely there. I think the penalty system is something that has to be looked at. The amount of incidents that some folk caused, there should have been race bans handed out, and there weren't. We were given, I think the ruling was there was 14 penalty points you were allowed. If you were found at fault for something, you got 4. And if you had a clean meeting where you didn't get found at fault for an instance, you got 2 taken back off. So, there's people getting, you had 14 incidents to get away with, basically, before you get a qualifying ban, and then 9 more for a race ban. And all it took was for somebody to have 1 clean race meeting to get 2 taken back off again. And then you've got another free ram, basically. So, I think they just simply need to be harsher. I think maybe a 10x limit as opposed to 14. 3 strikes you're out kind of 3 strikes you're out kind of deal. As opposed to 5 strikes and you might get one, or it's just, it needs to be harsher. If you want the driving standards to improve, you need to improve the penalty system with it. That was another point that guys brought up before the season started. We said, listen, it's going to be absolute chaos. We're allowed 4 free rams, and you're still only at you're only 3 free rams, sorry. Then you're at 12, and then your 4th one will be your Q ban. So you've got that 1 extra punt, but all it takes is 2 clean race meetings. You get the 4 taken back off, and you can go ramming people again. It simply wasn't harsh enough, in my opinion.
And you know what I'd like to see more of in iRacing, if they can do it, are grid penalties. So instead of having a complete qualifying ban, say, okay, due to the nature of this incident, you're going to get a 10-place penalty. So you could have had reverse pole, but you'd start 18th. That would have been cool to see, And it'd be weird because it's like in Formula One when you're going through the grid and you're like, okay, here are your Hasses, here are your Force Indias, whatever they're called these days, racing points. And then you're like, and there's a Ferrari? What's going on there? There's a Mercedes starting in 15th. They got a 10-place penalty. That's weird. And it's just stuff like that. That's I used to really enjoy back in the day in F1, and you used to always try to follow that driver. And if you watch rally, like, are you watching Rallycross this season for Rallycross for
No.
iRacing?
Oh, for iRacing, yeah, I'm spotting for John Robertson, so yeah, I've been watching them.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? You're actually spotting for him? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm John Spotter,
well, I think all you'd be yelling as a spotter is like, "Oh, crash ahead, crash behind."
yeah.
There's so
Yeah,
much going
just
on, and,
stop the
I
car, just
haven't.
stop the car, track's blocked.
Did you see the Sonoma race at the feature? Jesus, that
Yeah,
was
that was interesting. I didn't have much to say. I think I remember just saying to John, just get going, just see where you end up. I really don't care at this point. The car's wrecked basically. It's got front end damage just to finish, and somehow he ended up third. That just goes to prove how good he is. I think that he can get wrecked out on lap one and still come third.
yeah, rookie as well. You know, I was thinking,
Yeah,
what if he has like a Mark Marquez, Lewis Hamilton rookie season? Like, can almost
yeah.
pretty much win the championship, and you never know
He's not
because
far
now
off.
with sorry.
He's not far off. That's for sure. He's got the pace to do it.
Yeah, because
It's
with
possible.
Mitchell's out for he's going to be out this week too for round 4. I
Yeah.
mean, when we're recording this right now on a Friday, so the race is tomorrow. Podcast will probably be out after the race, but Mitchell's still at world's fastest gamer. Sammy Matty Trogan, as quick as he is, being a little inconsistent. I reckon he on pace can win the championship, but then depending on track conditions, Johan is sometimes the quickest driver. Like, it's actually a very interesting championship.
I think Sammy is missing around as well. It's not the one tomorrow. It's the one after. I think he's at a real life race, so Sammy will be
Ooh,
missing around. So that favors our guys even more. Um,
okay.
so it takes a bit of pressure off Johan and John, especially being up there in the points. Um, but you know, I mean, the objective for those guys is still just get out there and win. It doesn't matter who's on the grid. Don't get complacent just because you know Mitchell's missing 2 races, because all it takes is for you not to make the feature in 2 races and for him to win them, and it's all back on again. So
100%.
um, I mean, that's kind of the reason I'm spotting for John, is more to try and give him my experience from World Championships and just trying to keep him in the right mindset, but also just to kind of point out when to take jokers. Having that eye in the sky, especially in rallycross races, is a big help with how hectic it can be and not knowing who's taking jokers when, that kind of thing. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's just kind of try to keep John pointing in the right direction and make sure he keeps the right mindset, keep on pushing. Doesn't matter that Mitchell's not there, that Sammy Matty Trogan's not there. You just got to keep on pushing, keep on going for the win, and get as big a gap as you can. And come the end of the season, you'll be grateful you kept on pushing. That's for sure.
We were laughing after the race. I don't know if John was there, but I think Johan, Stellian were there. Myself, Randy, Paul, who was producing, Paul Smith. We're all laughing at the feature race because if you watch lap 1 and anyone goes back to it, you see Johan come across the jump to start the race, and then all of a sudden the camera's watching the jump, and you're like, all right, Johan's gone through, and there's
There's just
no
no
other
one.
cars coming
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, that was crazy. I've got to say, actually, Kevin's incident that he had was quite funny.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was on the outside. The right hander just before the jump, he got nudged wide and just went head on into a barrier, just stopped dead. Like, as much as it cost him getting into the feature, but I had to kind of have a bit of a giggle. Like, it looked pretty funny. You couldn't get more unfortunate.
I think he cost himself though, wasn't it? The heat where he just like took out. He had the lead, I think. He was second, and he just crashed on his own into like a tire bollard. I don't know what happened to him, but it was
Yeah, yeah.
something very weird.
Locked the rears. Yeah, he locked the rears into turn one.
Mm.
He was on the inside going for, was it second or third at the time, I think it was, and yeah, he said he just locked the rears and they just snagged a bit and they just pointed the car straight into the barrier. What he'd done after that wasn't going to change the outcome. He was heading straight for that tire bundle regardless. So yeah, no, Kev's had a rough couple of weeks, but he's not. His motivation hasn't dropped at all. I can tell you that much. He's more motivated than ever to
Mm.
get back there and make up the points he's lost.
Yeah, let's just make sure he signs up for round 4 this time.
Yeah, don't worry. We've been winding him up about that for a while. He ain't
Yeah, I
making that
wasn't.
mistake again.
Yeah, I'm not. Is it actually true? Was it an iRacing glitch, or did you just forget to sign up for round 2?
The clock on his computer was like 10 minutes out or something, so he went to register thinking he had plenty of time, and there's like a 10-20 second window on iRacing where you can still register for the race even though it's launched, and he got caught in that 20-second window where it said he'd registered, or it told him that he'd registered but he couldn't join because the session had already gone without him. So
Oh, that
yeah,
sucks.
he wasn't happy. So coming into round 3, I think he got like 4 or 5 phone calls. He had about 4 alarms set. We all started shouting at him as soon as sign up opened. We were like, right, Kev, register. Don't don't leave it to the last minute like you did last week. So he isn't going to miss another race this season, that's for sure.
And the last thing about Rallycross is when you watch that feature race start, Bobby Sant Jr. takes the Joker, and you're not allowed to on the first lap, I don't think.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think anyone caught on. Like, we didn't catch on to that in the broadcast. After the race finished, that's when we caught on to it. We're like, oh wait, Bobby Sant Jr. is not supposed to do that. And we're like, all right, well, race is over now. We can't really call it.
I must have missed that part of the briefing there where you're not allowed to take the Joker on lap 1.
I don't think so, because no one really did. I don't know if you were or you weren't, but whatever. I might be wrong with that. I heard somebody tell me that you couldn't. So unless that's false
it's before you cross the line, because obviously at the rallycross track you start like midway through the lap. So you come off the line and you go around the last few corners, then you start the lap. So I think he's probably taking it on effectively lap 0.
Yeah,
he's taking the Joker, and that's where the penalties come from.
Exactly, but at Lucas Oil this week, it's different because you cross the line and then
you're straight into it. Yeah. Lucas Oil's not a nice Joker, that's for sure. You go through it and you get launched right back onto the racing line. So we'll be having a few discussions, no doubt, later on tonight or tomorrow before the race. We'll discuss when the best time to take that is, and we've got all the deltas set up, so we know. For me as a spotter, I know what kind of gap I'm looking for to tell John to Joker, and Lucas Oil is going to be one of the tougher ones this season for me to call, I think.
With the Porsche Esports Supercup, how long is it going to take for iRacing to introduce multiple tyre compounds to that series? Do you think it's necessary?
I'm not really sure. It's not something I've really thought much about. The tyre compounds. It's more the tyre model that we're looking at among the team. We're looking forward to V7. I think it's a positive step forward for the series and for the car and for everyone in general. I think if they can get it right, then it will be much better. Because at the moment, the car just feels sort of weird. It's probably how it feels in real life, but iRacing in general, like on the limit grip, has always been lacking a bit on V6. But V7, I think it's a lot better. So we're looking forward to V7. But in terms of compounds, I'm not really too sure. Where there's not making pit stops and stuff like that, I don't really know enough about the Porsche Supercup in real life to know what they do with tyre compounds. If they just is it like a MotoGP where they pick a compound and that you're stuck with it for the race kind of thing? I'm not really too clued up on that kind of stuff, but
see, I might still be in Grand Prix series mode where I feel like that was perfect for. Remember that season? It was 2017 the boring season where everything was a one stop.
Yeah.
Like that's where we needed multiple tire compounds. I know iRacing don't really do it, but it's just something that I wish they sort of said. Okay, here are softs, here are mediums, here are hards. Go and race, and somehow you just figure out a way to make these work, and they're all pretty similar.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's something we wanted, but unfortunately never came. I think with V7, more likely to see it with V7. They have the capability to do it on other cars, but in terms of the Porsche, I think we need V7. First things first with that car. We need to make sure it's right. I'd rather stay on version 6 than go to a botched V7 and spend a full year driving on a fucking marshmallow tire or whatever the hell they end up giving us. If it's not right, then I don't want to drive on it.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get it right. I put trust in iRacing. V7 feels good so far, so I've got no doubts it'll be okay.
So let's cover your special event wins this year. I think you've got the Sebring win. Was that the start of the year? Sebring?
Yeah, that was March, yeah.
Yeah. Then you had Watkins Glen, and we did a podcast on that actually, post-race. And you won Petit Le Mans, didn't you, recently? Is that true? Did you win that?
Was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2-3 weeks ago we won Petit Le Mans, yeah. That was, if anyone was watching Jamie's stream, you'll know that was an interesting finish. I set myself the challenge of getting drunk before the checkered flag. So it was like an hour. There was like an hour and 20 minutes left in the race, and I said, right, okay, I'll start drinking now. No, I'd done the first 4 hours or something like that, first 3.5, 4 hours, and then I was out the car just spotting, and I said to the guys, like, listen, there's an hour and 15 minutes left. If I can get drunk before the finish line, then I'll be happy with that. At least if we don't win, I'll be so drunk I don't remember it. We did win, and it was an interesting last hour. I think I was on one of those iRacing highlight videos where I was really drunk and Michele was sitting talking in Italian, and I said to Michele, how do you say pizza in Italian? So I was half joking, but I was really drunk at the time as well, so it was kind of like a 50-50 thing. And it ended up in an iRacing highlights video, and then it got pretty bad to where Jamie had to actually delete the VOD, so it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. You can't see it, but
Oh.
That was one of the funniest nights I think we've ever had. We were like leading by 50 seconds or something, just sitting having a laugh. It was a great last hour actually, and yeah, to top the year off the way we started, was probably the best thing we could have hoped for.
Do you remember that drunk broadcast you did last year? It's never been
How
released
can I
to the
forget that one,
public.
man? That's still unlisted. That one. That's I don't think that'll be getting put out to the public anytime soon. Maybe after I
I
retire.
I think the first 5 minutes, man, I was in tears laughing, man. I'm even just thinking about it now, going, I gotta find that link wherever it is and start watching it again.
Yeah, after I retire, maybe we can put that one out. But as long as I'm a pro driver in iRacing, that one isn't getting leaked out. I can assure you that much.
Well, it's all in good fun,
It's all in good fun, but I can already tell they wouldn't tolerate what was said in there. It was Yeah, that was between Christmas and New Year, 2018 into 2019. That whole week is just a blur. I spent the whole time drunk basically on Discord and doing stuff like that, just doing drunk broadcasts, doing drunk hosted sessions, and
Oh,
yeah, that one will never see the light of day.
let's just make sure Discord bloody stays private too, for us both, I reckon.
Yeah, it's an interesting place, that's for sure.
Um, so with Jamie's stream, I thought when you said, "Did you watch his stream?" I keep thinking about to Watkins when who was it that smacked their microphone or something, and Jamie
Oh,
just said,
it was
"Oop."
Johan, yeah. Yeah, I remember that Johan's PC had some weird kind of connection thing. He dropped out, and we were all in the same vocal channel, so we had like three different cars, and we were all just in the same vocal channel. When after Johan got dropped out the session, they basically called it, and Johan grabbed an R Factor 2 trophy and launched it off the wall, and
That was
smacked God knows what else off the wall. There was stuff getting thrown everywhere, and yeah, Jamie's face is an absolute fucking picture in that one.
that was your profile picture for what, 6 months, 3 months?
On Discord, yeah, it used to confuse people because they used to keep on thinking it was Jamie that was messaging, but it was me just with a photo of Jamie's face from the moment that Johan launched it off the wall.
Oh man, I'm just glad I was there when you changed it, because I remember talking to you, and then I went to respond, and your photo changed, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
Yeah, it was causing too much confusion. Too many folk were losing track of who they were talking to, so I had to change it. But
Oh.
yeah, no, that was the special events this year have been amazing actually. On a serious note, it's been pretty mind blowing to be that good in the DP. I know it's not a car that
Mm.
not all the top teams drive, but I mean we've beaten PRT twice this year, which has been good. Petit Le Mans was a bit messy, I will admit.
Mhm.
Me and Jonas had a bit of a ding dong battle, to put it that way, and I mean, it made for good racing on the broadcast, but a lot of the viewers didn't find it too amusing. There was still
Mhm.
9 hours left in the race, or 8 hours left, and we were sitting chopping each other's nose off, forcing each other off the track, stuff like that. But it's hard racing. We were having a bit of fun, and neither car get damaged. I mean, I kind of forced Jonas off the road, in all honesty, but
Mm.
I had to do what I had to do at that point. It was go time for me. I didn't have much time left in the stint, so I knew I had to make a gap, and knocking Jonas back to fourth was probably the only way to really do that. It was just I didn't quite mean to force him off that much. It was more a kind of pinch and hope he backed out kind of deal. But yeah, I mean, to end the year off with a win,
Mm.
3 wins in the DP and an Indy 500 win. That's not a bad year, that's for sure.
It's definitely been your best year, to be honest with you. Obviously,
Hands down, yeah, hands down.
winning every series you've competed in. I think. Is it true?
Except from VRS GT, that's probably true actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never actually thought of it that way. That's quite an interesting outlook actually. That's that gives a bit more confidence going into next year. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then you've got momentum, because now it's like, see, the problem with me is like I've been speaking to you. I came back to sim racing this year in May or April or May. I can't even remember. And my challenge is just like I'm not naturally talented. It sounds like I'm being self-deprecating, but what I'm trying to say is like I need to be practicing to be good. So like with you now, you've got all this momentum, all this skill to build on. It's awesome. You could, if you put in like your mind to it in the off season, you could really come out in Feb next year or March, whenever the season starts, and you could easily be up there with the top drivers. But for me, it's like I need to put in like 8 hours a day just to be even remotely close to you, and that's like man, like I shouldn't have taken all those years off. You know what I'm saying? And I think I remember my year in 2015 was I probably had the most sim racing I'd ever done between November 2014 and then January or February 2015. And then we went into the 2015 season for FSR. I think I almost put it on pole for the first race. And then you
Yep.
see my results decline throughout the year because of lack of sleep, just busy with work. And I think most of all was that I just wasn't testing as much as I did in the off season. So it's like my muscle memory just sort of dropped off. So I
Yep.
think like for you now, you've got all this momentum. It's brilliant for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the last few weeks I've felt a bit down on confidence, to be honest, since the season ended. Um, I've just been lacking a bit in terms of driving, especially in the Porsche. Just going back to tracks that we visited earlier in the season, like Montreal and stuff like that, and I can't get anywhere near the times I was doing at the start of the year. Which seems strange because for me, typically I get better as the year goes on. But I think the middle part of the season I've done quite well, which is it's normally the opposite. I start quite strong, middle I just sort of do my own thing, and then the end of the year, as people begin to kind of tail off, I pick up. But now this year seemed to be I began to kind of tail off at the end of the year when it comes to Porsche, and yeah, I've been a bit burnt out, to be honest. I mean, it comes with its good sides, practicing a lot, getting the good results, feeling good, but eventually you get burnt out and you lose the passion. And I've kind of lost the passion this last week and a half, 2 weeks, despite all the success this year. I put a lot of pressure on myself to keep those results coming in, especially at Petit Le Mans. I made sure to put a lot of pressure on myself to turn up and give the guys the car in the best position possible, because it's normally my job to start the car. When we're doing endurance events, I'm touted as the best traffic manager in Apex anyway when it comes to the endurance events, or multi-class events, should I say. So normally I'm starting the car, so I put a ton of pressure on myself to keep the car up front and give them the car with a 30-second lead or something like that. But come the end of the year, it just gets a bit tiring, and honestly the last couple of weeks I've not really enjoyed sim racing too much, so I've taken a bit of a step back. This week especially, taking a bit of a step back and just kind of relax and doing other things in life, and then I'll come back and maybe next week maybe do 2-3 days a week practice as opposed to 5. And as I said earlier, just keep on running laps in the Porsche, keep myself warmed up to the car, but without overdoing it, and then coming into March next year already feeling burnt out before we even started.
Yeah, sometimes it's just worth, I mean, not even coming back next week. Like, just don't touch your wheel for 2 weeks. Maybe
Yeah,
that might be the
yeah.
benefit of the help.
That's what I used to do. Like in the F1 car, after the season ended, I would take 2 months off basically. I'd go and play other games. I'd play Call of Duty, Black Ops 4, Battlefield 4. Play around just with completely different genre of games, not even anything to do with racing. Just step away entirely. But with the poor results near the end at Monza and Laguna Seca especially, like the results were good, but I didn't feel as if I performed as good as I should have. Like especially qualifying wise, I left a lot on the table. The last 2 races, there was a lot of missed opportunities there for me, which I don't like. I'm okay with being slightly off pace, but I'm not okay with not being my best. So when I turn up to a race and I'm qualifying, like at Monza, I qualified 24th or 22nd or something like that. That to me just isn't. The pace was there. It just simply I didn't execute, and that's really what kind of ticked me off. So that's why I've not really stopped practicing since the season ended. But I'm getting to that kind of stage where it's getting kind of tiring now, and even at the end of the PESC season, I was beginning to get a little bit burnt out. And yeah, I think this week I sort of hit that point where I got burnt out and just lost it during practice, and was like, nah, fuck this, I'm going away for a couple of weeks, and I'll come back when I'm feeling better about it.
That's like the Michael Dinkle. Is he still part of Apex?
He's still on Apex, yeah. He's on every so often. I haven't spoken to him in over a year, but you see his name pop online, but he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, God, I love the dude. But he's like he was one of the best guests, still is one of the best guests that we've ever had on this podcast. He's like the same thing. He was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm out of sim racing. I need a break. And you don't know when he's gonna come back, because he's made it come back like a couple times. Sometimes he doesn't
Yep.
come back now for a while. And then the other day I was testing the F3. Well, when I say the other day, like 2 months ago. And then he was on the same server as me. I was like, oh, holy hell, he's still racing? And he were like,
Yeah, he just pops up out of nowhere sometimes.
exactly. And then I was like, does he even remember me? It's been that long? Like, of course he does. But then,
Yeah, now Michael will remember you for sure.
yeah, and then I start talking to him, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me sneak his, let me try and steal his setup. Hey, Michael, by the way, I'm struggling with setup, man. Can you send me yours?
Yeah, no, Michael was a great guy to have around. You know, his perspective on practice and racing in general was sort of not the same as what everyone else in the team had. So it was good to have that kind of input from Michael. Um, yeah, you know, me and him shared a lot of the frustrations when it came to the sim, and he taught me quite a lot as well. Like, you know, mentally, Michael was pretty strong. Um, in certain situations, so it's good to have him around. But as I said, I've not spoken to him in over a year now. But he's not kicked off the team. He's just simply doing his own thing. Just I think he's sort of backed away from the whole competitive side of things, and he's just picking
Mm.
it up when he wants to and just having fun with it, which is what it's all about. Ultimately, is having fun with it. But this year, there's definitely a lot more pressure, and there's a lot more opportunities on the line now. So doing it for fun is good and all, but to be at the top now, you've got to be pretty dedicated to
Mm.
setting a lot of your life aside and just focusing purely on sim racing.
Yeah, he's a leader. He's a really
Yeah.
good leader. He
Yeah.
should be your de facto leader or whatever it was. Uh, Sperry was
Yeah,
talking
try
about.
and get him back. Yeah, yeah, be a
Um,
driver coach or something.
yeah, he's awesome. You know, that's the thing. You know, he's inactive. That was like me at Go Speed. I was inactive at Go Speed for a year, and you know, not that I'm on Michael Dinkel's level, but you know, you would never just kick a guy out like that because he's not racing. You know, you're like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
come and stay when you're ready to come back. You know, we won't put pressure on you, and hey, he's an awesome dude to have around. And the thing I really like about you is you've been now at Apex for what 4 years now, I think.
Almost. Yeah, I think we're at 3.5 at the moment. Yeah, it'll be 4 years next May, I think. Be 4 years.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to our Indy 500 argument or whatever we had.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think I was in the Apex Academy at the time that actually happened. I think
Oh, so does that
that
not
was just
count as
before.
part of the Apex team being in the academy?
Um, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, if you came to the academy, then I think will it be over 4 years? I think. So I remember
Yeah.
joining the academy like August, September kind of time, I think, or maybe even July, maybe even been during the summer. Joined the academy and then ran with them through the Pro Series, and then May of the year after I was on Apex UK, and then ever since then just stayed part of Apex. I've got no interest to go anywhere else. I don't get offers anyway, which is makes things a little bit easier. You know, you're not getting people offering you a spot on the team, but on their on
Mm.
their on their teams try to pull you away from Apex. But no, I mean, I think it's 3.5 years I've been on Apex Racing Team now, so and I've got no intentions to go anywhere else so far.
See, I'm all for loyalty as long as you're in a good culture because when people say, "Oh, you need to be loyal, you need to stay in the same place," and I'm like, "Well, I agree with that, but I've been in a lot of organizations where I'm like, it's so hard to be loyal, you know. I want to sort of get out of here, and I'm not that type of personality where I don't want to be loyal, you know. So there must be a good reason why you're at Apex, and of course, you know, being from the UK helps obviously because everybody there it's a UK based team. Well, I mean,
Yep.
branded now as Apex Racing Team, not UK, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um,
we're all European based, so it's makes
mm.
sense.
And to me, it's just like, oh, okay, like you guys are all learning from each other. You guys have shown your rapid development over the years, you know, just year after year, just keep getting better. You guys are just a friendly culture. Like you just have that sort of vibe, and it's yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm, you know, what am I? Am I advertising the team right now for free? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I think it tells quite a lot when no one's really left Apex in the last couple of years. You know, it's one of those teams that it's more like a family, I think. You know, once you're in, you know, you can have that banter with the guys on the team. No one takes anything too personally. You know, you can kind of have jabs at people left and right here and have fun with them and stuff like that, as well as, you know, when it comes down to business, we've got enough brains behind the scenes that can get the job done. We can compete at a high level. Obviously, we're still not where we want to be. We want to be where Coanda are, but you know,
Everyone does.
exactly. I mean, who wouldn't want to be? But you know, that's what keeps us testing every single day, every single week, and getting on. And even when we're not racing, we can still just, you know, we'll go and play Minecraft or something. You know, something as simple as that. Like we can just hop on and have a laugh as friends. And even at the Sim Expo this year, you know, as soon as we met each other, like I'd met Michaela once before the year prior, but I'd never met Johan or anything like that. And meeting them at the expo, there was no kind of awkwardness there, I guess. Like it's everyone in the team is dead chill, good laugh, and yeah, they all pull their weight. There's no complaints about any of the guys that are on Apex at the moment.
Yeah. And it's what's for the future now for Apex? I mean, going into 2020, same series. You expanding anywhere different? Your Rallycross team expanded this year, which was good.
Yeah, the Subaru Winter Experience came on board, and they've done
Patrick
great things for us
Sandell.
so far. Yeah, Patrick Sandell, yeah, exactly. They've done great things for us so far, social media support wise, and everything else. There's a few more things in the pipeline, I think, for those guys, but I'm not 100% sure really. I've not looked too much into that kind of set. It's more Alex and the Rallycross guys that are dealing with that. But for us next year, it's going to be more of the same, I think. We were looking at some drivers to try and sign and stuff like that, but it's going to be tough. The drivers we want to sign, chances are they're not going to leave their current roster. So I think our roster will stay pretty much the same going into next year. We're kind of hoping for a new World Championship to start with VRS GT getting cut. That's a big chunk of drivers that we had already in the team and drivers we'd just signed. We're hoping to get into that series next year, so that we've got 4 or 5 spare drivers at the moment that don't really have a World Championship to compete in. So we're kind of hoping for a new World Championship to come along that we can get stuck into. But at the moment, I think it'll be more of the same. Trying to continue on the strong special events next year. Probably try and get another 500 win. Continue on with the DP where we have been, and hopefully take a step forward in the Porsche. We learned a few things at the end of this year in the Super Cup, so we're hoping we can get in a better position there. Pete Berriman's just come back 3 weeks ago. He's come back out, so although he can't race in 2020, unfortunately he's suspended because he never turned up. Obviously in 2019 there was the ruling where you had to attend 7 out of the 10 races, and if you didn't, then you were banned for the year after. So unfortunately Pete only made like 3 races, then gave up. So he's banned for 2020, but he's still going to be helping us practice, and Pete is just as quick as Jamie and Jared, and me and him have got quite a similar mindset, so it's good to work with him. So to have him back, that's going to boost us again next year. And we're just hoping to try and more of the same, but better. Hopefully better results again next year in Porsche, and we can be fighting for a title.
Do you think do you think Freddie Rasmussen's going to be banned for 2020? No, is that too soon to say that?
He's banned forever. He's never coming back.
I'm
not even kidding. He's actually like indefinitely suspended for my racing world championship now.
That was
unfortunately.
I was trying to play it off like.
And unfortunately, Freddie's not coming back, which is a shame, because somebody that talented, it's a shame to not have him on the grid. But
yeah, hey, he won his first race. He won the first race of the season, the heat, not the feature, whatever.
Yeah, he won the heat race. Yeah.
He's still on 9,999 for road I rating.
Yeah, I think he's doing that just to wind everyone up. I don't think you'll see him do another official race for a while. He'll just leave it there. Try and trigger some OCD if someone out there.
Yeah, he's such a funny dude, and he's like you said, I reckon there's not a single sim or car that he's not talented in. Like, he's that good.
Yeah, he's definite top 5, probably top 3 when he's on it. But yeah, I think he just sort of fell out of love with it this year, and his patience began to wear thin, and that was that. He was done. He's basically just looking at F1 Esports now and going fully on that.
So then, last thing, what do you think about the drop weeks? So I know in Rallycross there's no drop weeks, which I like. That's the way it should be, because even drop weeks in the real world is a pain in the buttocks. But with like sim racing, I reckon it's still, like, if it's F1 Esports, different story. I reckon if it's something like the Porsche Esports Supercup, where I don't think most drivers are even on a salary, then there should be drop weeks, if that makes sense. So I don't know, like, it's a weird discussion to have. There shouldn't be drop weeks, but unless everyone's being paid money to attend races and to show up, and this is a job for them basically, then this is a Sebastian job. No, I'm just joking. Pun aside. There should be drop rounds. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I'm on the fence. It's hard to discuss.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of drop weeks personally. I think if you're going for the license, you're making a year-long commitment to iRacing and to Porsche and to your team. If you're gonna go for the World Championship, you should have every intention of making every round. Obviously, if you run into health issues or there's other factors that come into it, then that they were unforeseen, then fair play. But if you go into the World Championship not without the intention of competing every single race, then I think it kind of sucks. And I think having drop weeks kind of rewards those guys for not fully committing. But as I said, it's a shame if you run into unforeseen circumstances, or like what happened to Jared this year. He had to miss a race for family, and he could have been within mathematical contention for the championship going into Monza. It was unlikely he would win it, but it could have been top 3 in the championship as opposed to 5th. So in that sense, a drop week would have favoured him. But at the same time, that's just the nature of it. At this level now, with this much money on the line, I don't think we can really have drop weeks.
Yeah. So it's only going to get bigger, hopefully, for 2020. We'll see.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Anything to plug before we go?
So yeah, on Twitter, at Kevin Ellis Jr 98, Facebook, just my name without the junior basically, and Instagram I think is just Kevin Ellis Jr as well. So if you want to follow me on there, follow my racing kind of stuff, then you can. Instagram's a bit more kind of my personal life. I don't think people would really care about that, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, all my racing stuff kind of goes up on there. So if you want to follow me on there, that'd be appreciated.
Oh, we didn't speak about your real world racing. Are we allowed to speak about that?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what's happening? You're racing in, what is it, Scottish Series, and you just talk about it.
So yeah, a couple months ago, the SMRC, the Scottish Motor Racing Club, set up a championship called the SMRC Esports Challenge, I think it was, or the Esports Championship. Yeah. And it was just in the Legends car on 4. It's basically UK club tracks like Brands Hatch, Oulton Park, Snetterton, and Silverstone International. Those are the 4 races. And the 4 qualifying races are 1 all 4. And the top 10 go through to a semi-final, and then there's 4 wildcards selected as well. So there's effectively 14 people get through to the semi-final to go up to Knockhill in person. There's going to be some karting, there's going to be some simulator work, and there's also going to be an interview conducted by Graham Carroll, fellow Scottish sim racer, and I think his name is Robert Reid. Well, I think he left just as I joined, so I haven't actually been teammates with Graham properly. I was in the academy when he was in Apex UK, so but I know Graham relatively well. I've spoken to him a few times off the track, and met him at the expo and whatnot. But so yeah, it's going to be Graham, and I think it's Robert Reid, the co-driver for the 2001 World Rally Champion.
Yeah.
So those 2 will host the interview. As I said earlier, some karting, some simulator work, and then they're intentionally not telling us very much about it, so we don't know what to expect. Going into the semi-final, that's next Saturday. So you said we're recording this on a Friday, so it's a week tomorrow. I think it's November 2nd. We'll be going up and doing that, and then after that it'll be up to the people to select the 2 finalists. The 2 finalists will go on to compete on stage in front of Scottish motor racing royalty. I'm quoting the email here.
Okay.
So we don't know who's going to turn up. It could be Jackie Stewart, David Coulthard, Daryl Franchitti. Yeah, I don't know who's going to be turning up. Or it's going to be people like Gordon Shedden as well. I've met Gordon Shedden before, so might even see him there. So stuff like that. The 2 finalists will compete on stage, and the winner gets a fully funded race in the Scottish Legends Championship at Knockhill for round 1 in 2020. So yeah, I've won 4 qualifying rounds and going into the semi-final next week. So I'm hoping my very minimal karting experience will hold me above float, and the simulator stuff will kind of sort itself out, and hopefully I'll be one of the 2 finalists. And after that, I could be racing a real car come March next year.
Yeah, good luck with that. And can we point out Robert Reid, who you mentioned before, who's going to be there, is or was, I think, the co-driver definitely of Richard Burns. He might have done some co-rally driving with Colin McRae. I'm not sure, but definitely very famous. One of the most famous rally co-drivers in history, to be honest with you. So he's an awesome guy to have with vast amount of experience. I'm getting quite jealous now, Kevin. I feel like
I'm excited.
I wish I was talented enough.
Yeah, it was a good little lob in the Legends cars. Good fun on iRacing, and so yeah, I'm just excited to see where this can go. Really, hopefully talk to the right people and see what happens. I've always said like real life racing isn't my the end goal for sim racing for me. I think real life racing is just way too expensive in reality. But I'm never going to say no to the opportunity to do it. That's for sure. I'm gonna go and give it my all next Saturday and hope to make it to the final.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, look at Jan Mardenborough. See where he's come from the GT Academy and everything else. Like, you never know where it might take you, to be honest with you. But yeah, we'll leave you to it now. Now you can officially. Does this officially now begin your off season after this post podcast?
I'd say so. Yeah, we've got SEO going on in the background. So I'll be racing LMP1. But in terms of World Championship stuff, yeah, it's me officially done. So I can come home at night and not have to worry about practicing. I can just enjoy life.
Yeah. Which are you planning to probably go out tonight while this is uploading on your very fast Scottish internet, which will take...
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's one of my friend's birthdays tonight, so after we finish up here, I'll be going and getting ready and heading out.
Yeah, well, like I said to you in the Silverstone interview, keep it legal, mate. That's all you need.
I'll try. No promises.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Simon Racing Report. Hope you enjoyed it. Episode 92. Subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. Grab the RSS feed. Like the podcast page on Facebook. Follow myself and Kevin on Twitter. Our handles were there the entire podcast, of course. It's right under me for the moment. If you're watching on YouTube, that's at Johnny S8, JONNYESS 8. Most of all now, we need you to leave a rating and a review for the podcast. So if you're on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever, leave 5 stars. Say you love the podcast. Say you can't go to sleep without listening to an episode of the podcast. Say you love me. You have posters of me up on your wall everywhere you go. You have a little thing dangling from your car from the, what are those things called? You know, where you hang the dice, whatever. You got a picture of me there. What else do you have? You have inflatables of me. No, we won't go that far. But you have a love for the podcast most of all. So definitely rate it where you can get a chance to, for sure. But there's definitely, can I hint at this? And I never make promises because whenever I promise content or do stuff, I just never get it out. So that's why I made this podcast with no schedule, because I said, you know what? Instead of saying I'm going to release a podcast once a week, I'm just going to release them whenever I can. But I genuinely mean this. There are going to be a few coming out over the next month. And we're going to get to episode 100, which is going to be an awesome special. Definitely something I'm looking forward to, of course, for episode number 100. I don't normally like to celebrate things, but it's coming up. And I know I'm celebrating prematurely, but believe me, episode 100 is going to be brilliant. But most of all, you have to subscribe to see it. So bookmark the website, subscribe however you listen to this podcast. And we'll see you for episode 93 coming soon in the future.